stroke of luck, the other camera's just got a full card, so I'll come back to you in a minute. Welcome along to another episode of Crafty Koi. As some of you know, I've been building a little small grow-on tank. If you look back at previous videos, you'll see a small part of the development of that. Done some of it prior to coming onto YouTube. So you've seen tile hang, put some finishing touches around the top of the pond. I've asked for some feedback. Thank you for everybody that's done that. I think I know what I'm going to go with. It's going to be a combination of a couple of the recommendations that were made, but when we get to that bit, I'll credit the people that's commented that I've took their advice on board. Right, but today, like I said in one of my last videos, what I'm going to be doing is putting a 5-way junction box, outdoor junction box, on to the equipment that's associated to the pond. So I've got a pump fed from inside the pond itself, a UV clarifier, and also an external light. It's going to be a couple of spares in that, which won't, they'll be redundant this time round. However, I will be adding to that later on, but more about that as and when it comes in later episodes, because I'm not ready to put things on it yet. So anyway, what am I putting on? So I am putting on a Blagdon Power Switchbox 5-way. At the minute, I think there's about 35 quid on Amazon. I paid for that. I retail for a lot more in other stores, online stores, also garden centres that have got an aquatic section, etc. I've seen these up to about 70 quid. This 30. In fact, other junction boxes that have got 4 or 3 are actually more than this one, so they must have a surplus of stock somewhere. So I'll put a link in the description below, so anybody that wants to grab on one of these, if you're quick enough, you might get the same deal I did. So anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at this now, and then we're going to unbox it, show you what it looks like, and then it may be something that you want to look at doing a little bit later on. I'm also going to actually wire it up on camera today, so for some people out there that aren't too sure about electrics, not rocket science, I can assure you. It's as simple as wiring a plug, but doing it multiple times under a different set of circumstances. So without further ado, let's have a look. Right then, box. It's a box with a picture on it. We'll open it up. Okay, inside here we've got numerous little bits and bobs. Now, I ain't gonna lie, I've already taken it out, so I needed to make sure it was all there, because you know what it's like when you order from Amazon. Sometimes you get a box of biscuits. Well, I certainly have in the past, and it should have been a £300 set of headphones or something. So right, inside the box itself, what do we get? We get a screwdriver, which is good, but you'll see why you need to get your own set of screwdrivers a little bit later on. So I've got a couple of other little screwdrivers, and also a Stanley. Remember, if you're not an adult, get an adult to help you if you're using this. In fact, if you're too young, don't be doing this. Get an adult to do it, someone that knows what they're doing, or do it supervised. So what do we get other than a couple of tools? We get a Blagdon Power Switchway wiring diagram. If I just zoom in on there for you, you'll see on that it is like an array of plugs all in the same box, with a couple of extra little buttons and lights attached to it that you don't have to do nothing with. All we need to simply do is feed our wires up through the holes here and then connect them to the connectors across there. So you'll see I'm going to be doing a bit of that in a while anyway. So you'll also see down the left hand side it gives you the instructions on what to identify your cables with, how to connect them up to the internal gubbins of the actual switch box, and also how to connect the gland cover and the rubber seal, etc., on the actual thing to help keep it watertight. So we'll keep that to the side because I'll be referring to it anyway. So the box itself comes in every kid's favourite pastime, which is double wrap. Well, that was rubbish, wasn't it? Yeah, there we go. Right, that's that done. Box itself is plastic. All right, there's probably don't come to much of a surprise for quite a lot of you. So with this itself, I've already got one plugged to the other pond. I quite like it. It does the job, but there are some limitations. So one of the limitations that you have to bear in mind when you're doing these, you'll see that your cables have to come up through these portholes in the bottom of the actual box itself. Now, when your cables are in there, it's not like having a plug socket where you can actually physically remove the plug. You've actually got to take the fascia off of the box itself in order to get to the gubbins that are inside. Okay, so I have seen a couple of people on other YouTube videos that have shied away from this, but if you're small time, which you know the majority of us are at the moment, this is an affordable solution rather than having 8 or 9 double plug sockets in your filter house that you need to have put in via a qualified electrician and through certain circuit boards, etc., which actually we should be doing on this. Should be following the correct criteria, IP66 I think it is, and having a qualified electrician install it, because it's classed as outdoor. It's actually classed as outdoor installation, which has to be done by a qualified person. However, in this hobby, what we do like to do is we like to do things ourselves, because it's part of having a pond and hobby. If you don't want to do it, hire someone. However, we like to do it. So when we come to actually look at the actual physical part of doing this itself, okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to take this off, and then we're going to look at how to wire things up. So I'm just going to spin this round. Now I know that it may look like I'm upside down to some of you, and I'll apologise for that in advance, but it's the only way I can film, so it is what it is. So I'm going to go inside the actual thing itself, and I ain't going to lie, it's quite fiddly because you can't actually see whether you're in the filter on the screw head. You have to physically feel it. So using a cross point, you go to the corners of the actual box itself. Now, I have done it fairly tight, so you should feel it bite and then move, he says. There you go, I think I got it that time. It's a good job you're built like me, mate, otherwise you wouldn't be undoing these screws, I tell you, because they are rock. Not really, man. Gone at them days, I tell you. Anyway, right, you just need to be a little bit careful on this part, because sometimes this is a time when you're going to lose your screws, and if you're like me, you'll drop them about 300 times anyway. So I don't think that I worked on tanks for 13 years, and many a time I've been upside down in an actual turret looking for a bloody 3/4 bolt or something. Generally when it's pissing it down. There's Lee from Koi Soldiers, good video, Lee, by the way. Even better picture of Rambo. If you haven't checked his channel out, do so. He's awesome. He likes to talk about army speak and stuff as he's working, which I know it's quite entertaining for some of you, but my god, it's proper. Anyway, we've took the screws out now. So if you look on here, right, you'll see you've got 4 of these tight screws situated in each one of the corners. Now you'll have to forgive me, my camera's actually here, look, see that? Awesome. Anyway, the actual nuts screws herself are flat, fairly long. So what I like to do once I've done that is I like just to put them into a little pot to the side, because like I said, I'll drop them. And at the minute I'm outside next to my holding tank, which is sweet because I get to look at the fish at the same time as do this. So, right, taking that off. Right, don't be put off by what you're seeing inside. Okay, the only thing that we need to worry about are the screws that are situated in these connector boxes, right, and also the collars that the cables sit against here. So let's have a quick look what this is. Look, remove a circuit board locating screw to aid wiring. Okay, so locator screws are located here and here, I believe, but to be quite honest, last time I've done it I didn't need to do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to loosen off the collars. So that's going to be the power in. Right, the yellow signifies the main power source that is actually powering the switches that gives you power to your job of work, which is either your pump, UV, light, etc, what you choose to have on there. I've got to put an air stone on there as well. I forgot to mention that a little bit earlier. So you know, we'll keep going anyway, keep plugging away. So got a bit of a moment then, look at it. Got a robotic arm, by the way. Right, so what am I doing? Right, that's it. I'll tell you what, there's some quality videos coming out, and today the sun's out. It's probably the first day of summer that we've had for months, you know, and it's a little bit crap as well when you've got a pond, because you like spending time outdoors, you know, tinkering. If you're like me, like your aces and your plants, I'd rather be outside than indoors. You know, I'd rather cut grass and hoover, and I'd rather trim bushes than polish. More importantly, I'd rather like sit there, keep the fish in as good health as I possibly can, which, you know, I know I've had a torrid year this year in koi pond lifestyle as well. Keep up the good work, by the way, on that channel. You know, I think we've all been there where we've been a little bit down with trying to get on top of the pond, so you can actually just sit there and enjoy your fish, you know, because at the end of the day that's what it's all about. And it's no different to having any other sort of animal, in my opinion. You care for it, you look after it, you love it, and they give you back. So anyway, enough I'm rattling on. So what I'm going to do is just loosen off the collars, okay, along the bottom here, okay, and then we're ready to receive the first lot. So at this point I'm just going to have a break, I'm going to have a cuppa, I'm going to have a tab on my vapor, and then I'll come back to you once I've done a little bit more prep. Right, got myself a brew, and I've also just had a quick check back on some of the videos and all the videos I've been doing this morning. Now, I did make a little error. So the actual part that says remove the screw, which is a circuit board locating screw to aid wiring, these are the ones that are located at these points. It's actually the one in the middle just here. Okay, so as always, we're not experts, just doing this as a general help to people, and sometimes we get things wrong. However, I've corrected the mistake, so bear in mind when you come to do this, you need to make sure that the middle screw, it's got like a little plastic grippy bit around the screw, is the one that you want to do in order to help you move this off. So you'll see that I've already undone that. It's dead simple. Remember, keep it in a safe place. So I'm just going to go with a little pot over there as well, as is most things. So what we've got to remember is that when we're actually putting a cable in, it's we've got to think about what it is that we're trying to achieve. Now, trying to waterproof it, and with the cables themselves, okay, they do come like they do on a plug, like normal old plug. All right, you've got your earth, live and neutral. Okay, we'll put that underneath there as well. Hopefully that'll pick that up. So For those of you that aren't too familiar with how plugs are put together, or the cables within inside the plugs, remember you have got your wire diagram that comes with the actual device itself, so utilise that if you need to. So as we're looking at the actual plug itself, or the wiring on the plug, right, we have got a live, a neutral and an earth. Some plugs come with just a live and also a neutral. So the way to work out which one's your actual earth is a stripy cable. Okay, your neutral is blue and your live is brown. Okay, so now the best thing to do is, if you can, I can't because I haven't got one, but if you have got the ability to do an actual, so then if you haven't got the facility to actually solder the ends of your wires, which would help when you're wiring this up, I ain't gonna lie, same old thing, all I simply do is try and get that focus for you. I twist the ends of your cables off like so. Okay, it's not rocket science, but it certainly helps. Okay, so try and get that in the shot. So just twist the ends of the cables off like you can see in the video clip there. So dead simple. So I don't know why, it's like I'm teaching you to suck eggs, or you've never done something like this before. It's quite simple. Anyway, what we've got to remember is got to try and future-proof what it is that we're doing. So we're trying to create a water seal type unit, so no water can ingress onto your circuits and blow your electrics. So just putting a cable straight up and through into the actual device is not going to suffice. So as you take the actual collar off, right, there is actually a rubber grommet that sits inside that. So if you have a look just there, right, you'll see that is a rubber grommet, and it locates just inside the collar that screws onto the actual box itself. Okay, so just bear that in mind, because when we actually come to take our plug, what we need to do is we need to ensure neighbour's cutting his grass top. Oh well, that's what happens when you live local to people. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put the actual collar onto the cable itself. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to attach the rubber seal, whatever you want to call it, onto there, so when you come to pull that up, it actually sits over the actual rubber thing itself, as you can see just there. Alright, so pull that bit further down. Now just forget about it now. Alright, and then when it comes to doing it on the actual junction box itself, what we're going to do is we're going to thread the cable. Through the sleeve on the bottom of the junction box. Right, and this is where, when you've twisted the stuff up, why I say it's more beneficial that you can solder the ends off, which I can't. It stops them from unsplicing. Now, one thing I haven't done, which I should have done, I haven't loosened the collar off. Apologies for the grass cutting in the background. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to thread our cable through the bottom part I'm going to thread our cable through the bottom of the switch box. Give yourself enough to play with. Now, one thing that you must ensure that you do is when you've got this through here, you must ensure that you've got enough tail to be able to help you locate the correct cable to the correct port. Now, underneath there, I'm just going to pull that out again. So underneath there, you will see that every junction box has actually got the initial of the cable that should go in. So you've got earth, neutral and live situated on them. Okay, so smash that through there again if we can. Give yourself enough cable to play with. And then all I'm simply going to do, take the actual board out itself, give myself enough cable to play with. This way it's a lot easier for when it comes to wiring up. Now the next thing is loosen off the screws that are located in your connector boxes. I don't even know if it's the right terminology, but I can imagine it's not far from. Bish bash bosh, they're done. Now I'm simply going to do is individually, I'm now going to place each cable into the correct port. Give it a good firm twist. Make sure that you get a good connection through on the screw onto the bare cable itself. So then we're going to go into, let's pull that down a bit, himself a bit more cable. And we're going to go into neutral. So blue into neutral. Remember, use the guide that comes supplied with it if you're unsure. There's no rush, well, never a rush when doing electrics. And also think safety at all times. Now at this stage, right, all I'm simply doing is I'm putting all of my jobs of work onto I'm putting my jobs of work onto the device before I put any cable that supplies the power to it. The reason for that is obviously because of electric shock. So the last thing that I always put on is the power. Alright, and that is just a little safety thing. So remember though, I'm not a qualified electrician. I'm just a bog standard DIY man. So don't always do as I do. Do what you feel best, or get a qualified electrician. It's totally up to you. Right, I'm happy that that's in place now. Okay, so all I'm simply going to do now is repeat that process for all of the things that I want connected to the actual junction box itself, with the exception of the power lead. So I'll be back in a minute. Right, we're back. We're about that bit up in a minute. So as you can see, we've got the cables that I require plumbed in now. So power connected, as if it's plugged into a plug, and then water pump, UV and air pump plugged in. I've got two spare. Now I'm going to utilise them in a later episode, and I'll show you a little hack when coming to use these if, like me, you've only got two external power sockets outside. So looking at this, it's as hard as it gets. Now all I've simply done is I've put the circuit board back in, and I've timed it via the screw that locates the circuit board to the external housing. So off the back of this then, all we're simply going to do now is, so that don't fall off, I'm going to put on the top, and that, as soon as we have fixed it down, is how this works. Okay, so your cables come in the bottom, bungs are off Alright, completely watertight as soon as we've sealed it down. So turn it over, and then the long flat screws that we took out of it before, all we're simply going to do on that is put them back in. So again, this is a bloody fiddly part as well. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to put all 4 in at the same time, and then a little word or a tip, we knew that would happen, dropped it on the floor. What we're going to do now is, with a cross point, small cross point, is do these back up, but again it's a bit fiddly because you can't see where the screws are. However, you'll get a good indication when they start to go tight. Work on opposite corners when doing things like this up. It takes the stress off of one side or another. So screws might take so long. Right, so that's done. Right, next part. Oh. Next part is everyone's favourite part, which is putting the stickers on. So what we've got, air pump, again the downside to the stickers is that if you do change your loadout, you need some more stickers. So air pump on there, and we've got UV. Just there, and then we've got pump just there. I'm going to leave the other 2 blank, and the reason for that is that they're not in use at the minute, and then I will use them as and when we come to it, because I always keep things like that anyway. So ready to put it on the wall. At this point, notice though, okay, these don't line up. Right, so just be mindful when you're putting your stickers on that when you're using your first port, which is not this one, that's your power one, the first green port, it actually connects to that one there. Okay, so don't end up sticking them in the wrong spot. Right, let's get it on the wall. Okay, one thing that this doesn't come with is a little template for hanging. So what I'm simply going to do is just put this on loosely so I can work out roughly where I want it. And then I'm going to slide this off about there. Job's a good one. Move it slightly right. I'm going to level this off. Job's a good one. And then I'm going to make me mark. There or thereabouts. One. Two. Three. Four. I think they need to be on a bigger thingy-majig. Let's have a look. Yeah. So let's get me other drill bits. And then we'll go again. Let's try again. That's cool. It's a bit tight. Again. We're in like flint. Let's see if I can snap it in with this. If not, yeah, remember, always use correct tools correctly, like I just did. And the next thing is locate the backing plate. Just by hand at first, and then once that's in, bish bash bosh. in. Once they're on, nice and secure. There we go, we're in place now. All we've got to do then is tidy the cables up. That in there like so. Secure that off. That. Good. Quick check, green light coming on up there. I might secure that up a bit further at the top. And solid, all in. Turn it on. Green light, green light, green light. Now I know that one don't work, so I've got a green light out on that one. But looking in the pond, it does work. So next thing all I've got to do is just tidy the cables up. Be right back. Right guys, I have been grafting anyway. So cabling's done, bit of tidying up around the pond, blasted everything to be honest. So what I'm going to do, let's have a quick look. Right, I want to say a massive thank you to everybody that subscribed so far and give me the encouragement to keep going. Now, it's quite a difficult task to give content every week, but I've got sweating my tits off. Anyway, I've got some little videos that are a little bit different because I like to try new things. So they'll be released probably next week, but I'm going to let you have a look, judge it. Might be something that's at your street, may not be, but nevertheless, nothing ventured, nothing gained. So again, as always, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. You know, the more subscriptions we get, you know, the better it gets. Gives me a little bit more enthusiasm to get even more done. Not that I need it, to be honest, but I'm going to keep doing what we're doing. You know, the little pond's starting to come on. Need to get that up and running, ready to take the big pond down, ready for the new build. So I've got some interesting ideas. It's probably not going to be the best time to do it over winter, but I'd rather get it done over winter as much as I possibly can. So come spring, who knows, we may be complete, water all completed, etc. and then the fish going in, so ready for the new season. But in the meantime, again, subscribe, please give us a like, drop us some comments down below whether you like the video, give us a thumbs up for that. If you didn't, give us a thumbs down. Remember, if you can, share it amongst your friends. Some of them may like what we do. Until then, remember, you've been watching Crafty Koi, you've been watching me, I'll be watching you, especially if you've got a channel. But in the meantime, it's time, you guessed it, let's enjoy them koi. Is it recording? Have you got a little mic box at the top moving up and down? Yeah.